Greetings, metalheads around the world. Sarmad here from Metal Wani, and joining us today we have Andy Marsh, guitarist for the legendary Australian deathcore act Die Art Is Murder. Andy, how are we doing today?
Good, thank you. How about yourself?
Alright, pretty much fine over here, so let's get right into it. Alright, Dear Desolation is going to be released August 18th. How are you feeling about it?
Feeling good. I think everyone's confident in the album. We feel like we did a great job, or the best job we could, making the album. Right. And we enjoy it very much. So now it's just up to the public to enjoy it also.
Okay, but the public has kind of an opinion on its own. Slaves Beyond Death was the first track you released from the album, and what was the fan base reaction you were expecting from it, and what came out of it?
We expected people to like it, and heaps of people liked it. So we feel pretty good. It's great when result meets expectation. But we thought it was it's the first song on the album, and it introduced the album in a very direct way. Right. When looking at the record as a separate piece of music that you just listen to start to finish. But also it introduces the record to the public in a very straightforward manner. The record takes a lot of twists and turns. It's it's very dynamic for us. We think it's our most, kind of up and down album with the ebb and flow. So it made sense to introduce the public to the music from this album with a very straightforward, aggressive song, and that's what we did, and thankfully a lot of people reacted to that.
Right. Okay, so the dynamics of the album that you commented on is by far actually very true about the entire album, because this genuinely feels that Die Art is taking an entire new step with regard to the writing process, because there was a comment about the song stating that Slaves Beyond Death actually feels a little more death metal and is going a little away from the core aspect of the entire band. So is this an entire direction that the band wants to take, or is this just the new album exclusive?
This is just this song particularly is just a taste of something new that we incorporated into the album.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that there's a deliberate attempt for us to become like just a straight death metal band. Right. We've always distanced ourselves from deathcore because we feel that Die Art Is Murder is a legitimate death metal band that has breakdowns.
Right.
Rather than having, some deathcore is more dumbed down death metal riffs. It doesn't have the technical aspect, or it doesn't have the same vibe. So for us, we always thought of ourselves as a death metal band, so it makes sense to have some real death metal riffs. And we think that's a pretty death metal riff in the beginning of Slaves Beyond Death.
All right.
So we went with it.
Fine enough. So, let's get into the writing process then. Die Art Is Murder has had quite a difficult year, especially the gap without CJ. And was the band writing the album during this entire process? And if so, how did CJ not being there affected this?
So the first part of the question was, how was the writing process?
How long? Yeah.
Probably about 3 months, start to finish. I mean, not all in one big stretch, but we had a couple of months off in the middle of last year. We finished an Australian tour and a European tour. I think we had September and October off, and then we did a European tour, Never Say Die. So in the 2 months off, Sean wrote at home a lot of music as much as he could. And I was home in my house and wrote a bunch of music as much as I could. And then we did the tour, and we promised that we would work on music together, exchange ideas, and so on. But we're pretty lazy on tour, and we did nothing. We waited until we got to the studio, and thankfully our producer Will had to go to Australia to work on a record and couldn't be there for a couple of weeks. We didn't know that this was going to happen, so we had all this extra time, and we found out that it was going to be 3 weeks. So we spent about 2 weeks doing nothing, and then he said he was coming back, and he's like, "Send me songs," and we're like, "We'll send them when we got them." And so we spent like a week, like busting ass trying to write as much as possible.
So I guess you could say you could account for the fact that creativity works better under pressure.
We particularly do. It streamlines the process. It removes doubt. It removes procrastination. It removes all these things that are creative blockers. So in that week, Sean and I wrote as much music as possible, and then when Will got there to do pre-production, we had about 2 hours of music. So then we did 3 or 4 days of pre-production, and in that amount of time, we got as much work done as we had in all the time leading up to it. We culled, we refined songs, we selected the best songs, and then we worked on those even more and made them as the best that we could. And then even then, through the recording process, then we decided to drop 2 out of the running. 3. We dropped 3, then we had 12 songs that we recorded, and then we dropped another 2 from the album that we stopped working on. This is how it always is anyway for the music. So CJ not being there made little difference in that regard.
Okay.
And lyrics never get written until the music is 100% completed.
All right.
With our band. Not to say fully recorded and mixed, but the song will not change. The arrangement will be exactly
all
as it
right.
is.
Okay. Now, lyrics, if you get onto that, lyrics and whatever content each album that the band has had to offer has always had something cynical or critical that's towards society's views on something. And that's essentially what the next question is going to be about. What is the topic that is being brought upon the table in Dear Desolation, and what is the message in it?
Probably nihilism, I guess, is one of the biggest kind of sticking points of the record. You know, and I guess that it's just more cynicism towards people of faith or religion as an institution. So with hate, it was aggression, hatred, anger, all of these kinds of emotions towards certain things. Holy War was about those things,
Right.
very outward, and Dear Desolation is more this introspective discussion, dialogue, or probably just a monologue, really. That's touching on what happens. I mean, I'm an atheist, and I think, as far as everyone in the band's told me, they are too. But it's kind of, you know, it's about the finality of death as faced by an atheist, because there is no return, there's no afterlife. There's one chance, and this is more intimidating for me, I feel, than so many people of faith that I've met living in America that are just like, oh, it'll be fine. God will come down and everything will be fine. We'll all get wiped out, and that's the Bible said, the Revelation, like we'll all go to heaven if we've been good afterwards. And it's like there's no pressure, the world is getting fucked up, and all of these people.
I agree.
It's fine. So it touches on that, and I had a daughter 2 years ago, and it upsets me to think that when I die, that's it. I won't see my child again, because I will cease to have conscience.
Wow. Well, I have to ask this. As a nihilist myself, that was a very beautiful introspect into what the album means. Were there any specific works of nihilism that influenced the album itself?
No. I've not read any philosophy for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Leading into this album, and I've been influenced by Nietzsche. I hate saying Nietzsche. It sounds so annoying. So I don't know what is truly the correct way, but I just refuse to say Friedrich Nietzsche.
It's fine enough.
But I've read a lot of his works, and they've definitely inspired me in the past, quite a lot. And so I'm a person that operates on that level, I guess, and having absorbed that previously, and then had my own sort of thoughts and discussions over the last couple of years since becoming a father. It kind of just directed me down this path.
Right.
I was interested in the fear of death and its influence on morality, and as the precursor to the construct of religion. That in order to overcome the fear of death, we have to create the afterlife, and then create all these rules to justify that, and use that to shape morality. So I guess, yeah, mortality and its interaction with morality.
Okay, all right. So, okay, let's get into the aspect of the record with regards to how the fans are going to be about it. How do you think with regard to all of the dynamic changes that you're going to bring into the album, and I am referring to many few tracks that are still not released, i.e., Into the Sky or The Final Curtain. These tracks really do strive to be away from the usual writing that Die Art has produced, because they feel really atmospheric. How do you feel that this is going to change the publicity of the band, and is the band ready for whatever musical backlash that might be thrown?
I wouldn't say that we're ready, because we don't really consider that there will be musical backlash. We just made an album that we like, and so far there's no musical backlash from ourselves to ourselves. Okay. But we did make a deliberate effort on this album to strip back the layers. If you imagine an album as a Pro Tools session or as a tape track count, this has many less tracks than our previous two albums. Like a lot. I've been going through the Pro Tools sessions this week, and it's a lot less information in there. Lot less guitar layers, a lot less extra fancy bits on top, a lot less of everything. And somehow, by doing that, it's almost emphasized the atmosphere more because it's more streamlined. And it forced us to be more selective with what stayed, because we were cutting back. If we would write more and more parts, we'd go, hang on, we've done this before. This is something that we would do. We would add this layer. Out of these 3 extra bits that would normally play all the time, let's just choose one. And somehow that has emphasized the atmosphere even more, which is kind of counterintuitive. But, it's where we wanted to go with the music. The core, the riffs that Sean writes and whatnot, and the lyrics were kind of leading it this way. So got further down the production line of making the album, we were just streamlining and trying to make the best decisions possible. Hopefully everyone feels similarly to us, that it is a good progression musically.
Hopefully they should. Okay. Now, the band really is, as you mentioned, all of you have stuck to the fact that Die Artist Murder is a death metal band with breakdowns, but there are going to be people stubborn enough to bracket you as deathcore. So, in that context, how does it feel that the internet is suddenly going to term you as deathcore's daddies?
Is that something that you just made up just now?
Oh no, trust me, there's enough on the internet.
Memetic spread. It's very interesting. No, we don't. I mean, I'd rather not be deathcore daddy. I mean, kind of double entendre for me, I guess, actually being a father. But I don't know. The band has been there since the genesis of this kind of subgenre. The Job for Cowboys, All Shall Perish, Suicide Silence, Artist Murder, Carnifex. Wouldn't say that we're the daddy, but we're something that came from that, for sure. But I don't know. Maybe we're the apple that fell far from the tree.
I guess it's a matter of perspective, then.
Yeah, as with a lot of things, but we try to. I don't know. It does frustrate us to an element, but only with regards to we've been lumped in with a lot of bad music. I'm not saying that bands that are called deathcore are bad. I mean, there are a lot of bands that proudly wear the deathcore flag that we're fans and friends of. Okay. But a lot of music listeners or death metal fans probably have just heard the term deathcore and gone, "Oh, I won't listen to that. It's probably really bad." Um, you know, so it is what it is.
All right, fine enough. So now here's one about the band. The band has been around since 2006, as you said, the genesis of the subgenre itself, and you joined in 2010. While it's still a relatively young period, the band has reached intense worldwide publicity, especially after the release of Hate. And is it overwhelming to see how much the band has accomplished, or and how much is in the unknown for the band in the future?
No, it's one of those things to just take one day at a time, 1 month at a time, one tour at a time, 1 year at a time,
Okay.
one album at a time. I always believed in the band, in the guys in the band, and the music that we create,
Right.
that we could do something unique and authentic. And it's just been taking it as it comes. Hate saw us have many opportunities to tour internationally, and we
Okay.
did the best that we could, and we'd never done it before. Paying for flights, paying for work visas, how are we going to do that? And just overcoming these hurdles, making another album, signing a record deal with Nuclear Blast, trying to make a living, tax, international tax, writing better songs. There's so many things that go into it, particularly being from Australia, so that make it very difficult for us to overcome. And it has gotten to the point of being overwhelming in the past, but we made the decision, or not the decision, we just made the evolution to just conquer each hill, mountain as it comes, the best that we can, and then see what we can see from the summit and conquer the next one.
Very much so. All right, Andy, to wrap up, Dear Desolation again comes out in August. So, for the fans out there of the band, describe the sound of the album in one sentence, or basically put whatever bracket that you want to at the end of it.
It is a story of a train pummeling forward towards the edge of the flat Earth.
Beautiful. All right, Andy, thank you so much for taking the time.
No worries. Thank you a lot for the interview.
Much. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.